Yeah, I think I say to people, grief can run further, faster, and longer than you ever can you'll never outrun it. It's
Absolutely.
like it will you will finally collapse, and then grief's going to be like, I'm right here.
It's gonna
So
swallow
if
you
you
up. Yeah.
it's going to swallow. So if you don't stop and sit with it for a while, and maybe like you have to go, look, I can't do the rest of that today, I got to come back to you. But if you don't
Yeah.
stop with it, it's not going to you're never going to get it to slow down and maybe walk with you in a way that you can handle it anymore. All it's doing is chasing you.
It's
That's all it's
important for
doing.
us to acknowledge when things are way bigger than us. And that is something that is way bigger than us. I mean, this is what
It
I do
is.
for a living, and it's still bigger than me. Like
Oh,
this is
yeah.
it just is. And I see a lot of delayed grief, which is like really what we're talking, this layaway
Yeah.
concept. Um,
Yeah.
it happens a lot, like, during funeral service. I know we talked about this last time we chatted, and we both have this experience
Yeah.
about people who just need to just like, I'm not going to grieve right now because I have to get
Right.
through A through M on my to-do list today. And I don't have time to think about that right now. I'll think about dad
Yeah.
later. I'll think about dad later. Later will come. And that's the
Hmm.
thing, right? Like a lot of time, like we always, well, not we, but a lot of people will say like, no, tomorrow's never promised. Tomorrow's never promised. And it isn't, but it's
It's
like,
true.
yeah, I promise you that your grief is waiting for you. Like that is
Hmm.
something that we just, if we don't break it down and
Yeah.
make it into something that's more manageable to work, like to walk with,
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere. It's really
No,
not.
no, it doesn't. I know, like with my dad, I think that first year after he died, I ran like, I went to the funeral. I actually did his eulogy. I didn't cry until the end, and I was like, all right, I'm okay. I can do this. And
Yeah.
that first year, I remember I was out of my mind and didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And then finally, like it really hit me where I was like, I miss this guy so much. And
Yeah.
now I can say that without crying
Mhm.
because I do
Yeah.
miss him. But like I said, now I'm like, well, I'm always going to miss him.
Right.
I'm always going to grieve him.
Right.
But I can live with it now to know, like, when I'm working or when I'm working with and I say something, I go, oh, there he is. Like, I
Yeah.
know he gave me those words, like, or he's with me and he'll nudge me and go, yeah, don't
Mm.
shut your mouth. Like, I can
Right.
feel him, like, and I'll say, well, and even if you don't believe in that someone's
Right.
with you, you still carry them with you. You carry the essence of them with you. If they've
Yeah.
touched your life, you carry it. So,
Right.
they're there with you just in your personality and all that. And I think that's the way, like, if I can honor him, when I look at I want to honor him as the person who helped make me who I am.
Right.
So I want to carry him with me
Yeah.
and see, like, what, like my WWJD, what would Jack do? That's my
Yeah.
dad. What would Jack do? What would
Yeah.
Jack do in this situation? How would he treat that person? You know what I mean? So I think that's ways that you can have the grief but still, like, function in the world and honor them. It's a shift. It is a
Well,
shift.
yeah. I mean, think about it
So,
this way, right? You didn't know him dead your entire life.
no, that right.
You didn't.
No.
And thankfully for that, you did not know him.
Yes.
He has not been dead your entire life. You
Correct. Yeah.
had so much color, from
Yeah.
what I hear,
Oh,
a lot of
yes. Oh,
color
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
years that led up to that.
Yeah.
I meet people when they've already died.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know like the good stuff that happens, but more often than not, of course, not always the case. Some people really don't have
Yeah.
this experience. Like I have, like, say with my Nana, the experience that you have with your dad.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
devastated that she's gone. I would give
Yeah.
anything for her to be back. Would be better
Hmm.
off if she were. I think just in
Amen.
general, but she
Mm.
can't be, and that's okay. So
Yeah.
like I have that kind of similar, connection. But
Yeah.
I try to talk to people about that, and I'm like, I understand that like your person's gone. I understand that this is really heavy, and
Yeah.
whatever. But I do also just want to tell you that there was a lot that happened before this. Like this
Right.
is this is where we are, but it's not where we've been. So
Right.
it's like choosing, and it takes time to get to the point. Some people it takes a really long time. Some people get there a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
There's no rule for it. It's not a
No.
timed exam. But
No.
some people, it does take a while, but we get to the point. So like my cousin, my oldest cousin Brian, he died pretty recent, a couple years ago, and he was only
Sorry.
40. He was very young, and it was very
Mm.
very just sudden and pretty traumatic for everybody. I think my whole family really. And it took a long time. It took like a solid year for anybody to be able to like, I could have comfortable bride conversations. Even though they
Right.
were really hard for me, I got there, I think a little bit sooner maybe,
Yeah.
to be able to have the funny bride conversations and to talk about the funny bride stuff. He was a fucking goofball. He was such a goofball and he just was like larger than life personality. He's the guy that you want to keep talking about because even
Right.
though there were a lot of memories that maybe we shouldn't talk about or maybe don't want to, there are so many good things. And
Mhm.
it really was hard for me over the course of the first year because I was trying to be respectful of the fact that not everybody had made it to that point. Not everybody was at the point where they could start sharing funny bride stories again.
Yeah.
Um, but it still was really hard because I'm like, I don't want all of like the really great stuff that we had with him to die just because he's not here
Right.
anymore. That's
Right.
like that was very hard for me. Just as a grieving person to be able to be like, I really, really hope that we get to a point where we can share the funny bride stories again.
Hmm.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if we will. I don't know if we will. And we have. We have.
That's
It's
great.
not easy. And sometimes some certain people in my family, when it happens, like maybe it might catch them off guard. They have to kind of like take a step back for a second, but they come right back in the conversation. So like those
Yeah.
stories and those memories are coming back. So those like WWJD moments that like you have with
Yeah.
your dad, we when we're together for family functions and stuff like that, we're talking about bride stories. We're having
Yeah.
those stories. We talk about my Nana constantly, constantly. The
Wonderful.
whole family does talk about her constantly.
Yeah.
My papa too, sometimes for very different reasons. But we
Yeah.
um I talk about papa all the time. And I think that
Yeah.
it's important to do that because it's like we lost the person, but we didn't lose everything that we had with the person
Right.
by that point. It
Right.
just you have to go through that emotional deconstruction to be like, okay, this is gonna hurt like hell if I continue to talk about my cousin Brian. But I
Mhm.
also love talking about my cousin Brian because I had a
Yeah.
really great life with him while he was still here.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, I mean, I'm a timeline person. I want someone to tell me
Yeah.
that takes 45 minutes and 7 business days to get.
Right.
I need the very, like the IKEA blueprint of all of it. Like
Right.
I need
Yeah.
it. Um, but not
Yep.
everybody has that. But it's so
No.
important. And it's like it breaks my heart when people don't get to that point where they
Right.
can just say, like, man, I really miss my dad, but he was a funny bastard. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like to get to that,
Yeah.
just it's hard. It's hard to see
It's
that. And it's something that I want for people when they lose somebody to be able to not forfeit all of the stuff that is really
yeah.
holding on to.
Yeah, I love to hear stories like, especially like when folks talk about my dad before, I was born when he was like, a young guy before he married
Mhm.
my mom and stuff like that. I have a couple of aunts that are still with us, and I love when they tell stories about him
Yeah.
because I get to see another glimpse into him,
Yeah.
and I think we're all comfortable about it
Yep.
now, like that we can talk about him. I got a story. We were talking about this offline about my dad. He when he was in hospice care um he it's that we did home hospice, and it was
Yeah.
home hospice is rough. It's
It's
rough.
hard. Very hard.
It's hard. So he was sort of in the space of like where he was on morphine and on pain meds and just
Yeah.
sort of being comfortable. And so at one point when he was kind of with it, he looked up at the ceiling and he said, do you guys see that staircase coming out of the ceiling? It was my mother and I were there, and I went, oh, okay. So I left the room, and my brother was at work. I called him. I said, listen, you might want to come over because Dad's talking about a ceiling, a staircase coming out of the ceiling. You might want to come by. So he came by. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and we're all sitting there, and we kind of like held vigil around him, which
Yeah.
is not a fun thing to do, as some may know. And so right around 3 o'clock in the morning, my father's now snoring up a storm, and Anthony looks at me and says, "I think I'm gonna go home. Like if something comes up, just call me." But he's comfortable, and I said, "Yeah, yeah." So I'm walking him out the front door, and he turns to me and he says, "Is this all we're doing this for?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Are we doing this all for a staircase to come out of the ceiling? Is that it? Is that all?" And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I mean, I thought about it." He's like, I just thought like, like the ceiling would open up and like your family would come down. It was like the choirs of angels and saints and like all that." He goes, "And the staircase comes out of the ceiling." He goes, "What are we doing all this for?" I Adam, Anthony and I, we both started laughing, but we started laughing so hard because we hadn't laughed. We
Yeah.
hadn't laughed in a
Yep.
while. It was all everything was so serious. So I was laughing so hard I doubled over. And my mother, who's upstairs, screamed, "What are you two laughing at? What's so funny?" And I said, "I'll tell you later," but we couldn't stop. Like I was
Yeah.
crying. But it was something we really needed, like to
Right.
kind of break up and
Yeah.
I don't know if he really meant it that way, but what he said, he's like, "What? Like it's a stair. That's it. Like that's all we're
Right.
doing this for." Oh my God. And I told my mother later and she didn't quite see the humor in it, but it was something I think we needed at that
Yeah.
moment because, he was coming to the end
Right.
and, we were all, bracing for impact. And that's, at that point, like when someone's in hospice, we're
You
coming to
never
the end,
know.
like things are going, like, and so it's to laugh every once in a while, I think is important
It is.
because
Yeah.
he and he would have wanted that for it. He would have wanted us to laugh.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
he would have wanted that for us. Like that was just the guy he was. He was strong like a bull. He
Right.
would have just said, keep going. Like, but please laugh. This is
Right.
not, so I think people need to sometimes like there's funny things that happen.
Right.
There really is. There's funny things that happen during these times at
Yeah.
funerals. I mean, you must see it all the time, and everybody's like, "Oh, what do we do? What do we laugh? What do we do?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm
I,
hardly the somber funeral director.
yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
not. I mean, I sound probably miserable all the time. It's a
No,
super monotone voice is
no, no,
general
no, no,
my general affect.
mm-mm,
But
no.
just being like kind of super quiet and super dry. Like I also like I do okay like filtering myself, but sometimes I don't do it
Mhm.
because I it just seems like the right time. Like we talked about this last time about, your
Yeah,
outburst with Ari and how it
yeah.
was just like one of those like, oh, what did I just do? But at the same
Oh,
time, it's like you knew
yeah.
that the moment needed it. You knew that, and I try to have that conversation with people all the time. I'm like, look, you're like, how I am meeting your father is not how you've known your father. So
Right.
what would he want right now? Like, what would they would be like? He would want us to be shotgunning natty ices in the parlor. And I'd be like, well, don't do it on my carpet, but do it in the parking lot. That's
Right.
fine. I'm not cleaning up
Yeah.
after you, and I'm not charging a
Right.
deposit for this. Um,
Yeah.
but it is really important, and it's so hard to reframe when you're like deep in it like that, because obviously
Yeah.
grief is the overruling emotion for
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
people, and rightfully so. It's super heavy.
Hmm.
But to be able to kind of take that like emotional step back in
Yeah.
that moment and just be like, you know what? My dad never once had a serious moment in his entire life. So like, that's a
No.
really good way of honoring your person. It's not an
Yeah.
expensive thing that you have to do. It's not, a $70,000 funeral. It's not,
Right.
$1 million tombstone. It's none of those things. These are the really simple things that we can do to honor our people and being like, my
Yeah.
dad was a clown.
Yeah.
So why are we not laughing right
Yeah.
now? Like
Right.
he would have
Right.
us laughing right now. If this were,
Yeah.
mom, God forbid, but if this were
Hmm.
mom, he would find a way to have us laughing right now because that's who
Right.
he was and that was
Hmm.
our dynamic. That was our relationship. So
Yeah.
that is a really,
Absolutely.
I think, one of the best ways that you can honor the memory of somebody. Of course, way easier said than done when it comes to like
Of
being in a
course.
position to see things that way.
Hmm.
But sometimes you have those moments where it's like it's almost visceral, like it just
Oh
like
my
just
God.
I don't know. I like
Like
that.
the it was like all the because like I said, we had been sitting for hours just staring at him.
Yeah.
Like really, we thought the next breath was going to be the last one. So everything was so tense. And
Yeah.
when he did that, I think he needed to laugh, and I think he knew it was going to make me laugh, which it did. It made
Yeah.
us laugh really hard. And it kind of it broke the tension for a minute of he's gonna go and we're gonna
Right.
miss him so much. But it was like,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute, like, it helped us. It helped us. And I think, my mother, I don't think was happy. I'll freely say that the two of us were laughing. I don't think, but on the
Yeah.
other hand, I know she was going through a different grieving process,
Of
and I
course. Yeah.
understand that and I respect that. But we needed a moment where like dad would have been like, yeah, that good job, kids. You know what I mean? Like, good job.
Yeah.
Like
And it's
that would have
funny
been
too
good.
when it like happens at a time where like you have zero control over it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you from like the
Yes.
spiritual realm, like I'm confident that you and I can probably agree on this, that
Yeah.
like those moments, if they don't just happen organically, it's like that
Yeah.
person is just like, you guys need to fucking laugh. Like you
Right,
need to like
right.
this just so if you're not going to
Yes,
do it on your own, let me give
right.
you a little nudge on that. And try to
It's
like help
true.
you to, and it does
Yeah.
sort of reinvigorate too. Information on my services and to book your free consultation, visit theadjustmentphase.com. Let me know what you think in the comments and follow along for more.